What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian, and we're finally going to be talking about the trailer that I have right here next to me. If you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, you might have seen an old parts truck that I have. It was a Mazda B2200 extended cab that I went and picked up all the way in Louisiana, and then brought it over to my house. We took a lot of parts out of the truck. It had a lot of good parts on it. The motor was junk as far as I knew. We had no intention of rebuilding that. It was missing a lot of components in the engine bay, but everything else around it was great. And I still have a lot of those parts here with me, including this trailer. I put it up for sale. Nobody wanted to buy it. The bed was in super great shape. I did make the mistake of selling off the tailgate. And honestly, like I said, that was a big mistake. Don't do that. I couldn't get another one back. I found this one and it's not the best shape. So that is one regret I have with this. But outside of that, we turned the bed into a trailer because, again, I feel bad throwing this into the scrapper, especially in the condition that it was. So with that in mind, I just want to talk about everything that we didn't know when we started building this, everything that could have been done better. So if you have an old parts truck or something and you have the idea of making a trailer out of it, hopefully you learn from my mistakes and you can make a way better trailer than I have. With that in mind though, I did make a 4-hour trip from Dallas to Houston. No complaints, it behaved perfectly, didn't sway or anything like that. So for being our first time, we didn't do too bad, honestly. Anyways, let's jump right into it. All right, guys, so here we are looking at my trailer, and let me give you just a couple angles so you get a good picture of it. We are looking just kind of at the back of it. Biggest regret I have with this trailer, getting rid of that tailgate. If you have a complete truck and you're gonna do this, don't get rid of that tailgate gate. Guys, this tailgate is not the best, but we're gonna make it work, so this is what it is. If we go around towards the front, we are gonna see kind of the tongue. We use the same frame for this. All we had to do is kind of cut the frame, align it, make sure we're super centered. You don't want this to be off because then your trailer is gonna start swaying or you know, kind of driving funky. We got super lucky, measure 2-3 times and then pray that we cut it right. So we cut all this, like I said, using the same frame, and we just bought a kind of tongue from Harbor Freight, put it in here. We have a 7-pin connector, and I'll explain a little bit more of why I went this way. But we have a 7-pin, and I am gonna attach, I think, a 4-pin here, so I have the options for both of them, just in case I need to tow this with a truck that does not have a 7-pin. We did use also Harbor Freight trailer jack. Pretty cool, especially if you gotta move it around anywhere. Kind of sucks if you don't want it to move. If you have somewhere like a slope or something like that, not the jack to go with. So keep that in mind. But the cool thing is, once you hook it into the truck and everything, it just pulls out, twists to the side, and it's completely out of the way. Another thing to keep in mind as well is because of, at least on this one, we use a extended cab truck. Let me go here to the side, because from the other side you're not going to see it. Because we use extended cab truck, if you've seen my video on bed sizes, you already know that this bed is a little bit smaller. I mean, not by a lot, but the main difference is that you have less kind of space here in the front and a lot more on the back. If you know anything about trailers, which again, this is the first time I made one, I didn't know a ton of it. I didn't realize this, but if you know about trailers, basically, you know that this is gonna make the trailer start tilting back if you start putting anything heavy on it. This is not great. I mean, it's still a good trailer. I drove it from Dallas to Houston, 4 hours, no complaints. It didn't sway, it didn't do anything bad. But as far as putting weight, I don't put a lot of weight in here. So keep that in mind. The way I kind of fixed this problem a little bit too, if you see this metal piece here, this is a very heavy metal piece. I think from some train tracks or something that my dad had laying around, that we put in here that helps with the trailer stay kind of a little bit more tongue heavy. So if you put some stuff, like you can see I have a bunch of crap back there. If you put some stuff in the back, it doesn't start tilting the trailer up. When I first did this, I mean, it would just go up if you moved it a little bit too fast. So keep that in mind. Extended cab is not the best for this. The regular cab will be your best bet because the bed is more center on the truck, on the axle, I'm sorry. So you have a more even space on the front and on the back, as opposed to this that is more back heavy. But yeah, Outside of that, from this point back, we didn't touch anything. We didn't have to do anything at all with the back part of this. You could basically leave it how it is on the truck if you're gonna do this. From this point forward, we didn't have to do a couple stuff. Obviously, we don't have a gas tank back here. There's no need for that. If you see this brace here, this was the brace that is further forward on the actual frame of the truck. We cut that out and we moved it towards the back and then welded it in place. So we have more bracing, more support for the frame. There's really not, after that support here, where, like I said, it's a lot forward on the frame. After that, there's nothing in between until where the axle is. There's a small little support there. So we wanted to make sure we were not gonna bend this in any bad way. So we just put that in there. Like I said, just extra support. We have this as well, that gives it a little extra support, and that makes it a little heavier in the front. And then we use the wiring. When it comes to wiring on the back part here, this is factory wiring. All of this is what factory comes on your truck. You can see here, this is very shady done right now. I do need to come in here and clean this up, and I'll show you guys here in a bit what I'm doing with this and why it's kind of like this. But from here, we just use the plug, the same plug, and then everything back this point is factory again. So from here, again, nothing else kind of weird, just the same. We got some old Mazda steelies and everything, and that kind of completes our little 360 here. But so let's talk about wiring. Basically, when you're gonna wire up your truck, you already saw that I put a 7-pin, and I'm gonna get to that here in a bit. But you have two options for wiring. You have a 4-pin wiring, which is gonna be your most common wiring. Most trucks, especially old ones, most likely will have a 4-pin, or if you tow anything at any point and they added custom trailers wiring to it, it's most likely going to be a 4-pin. So you have your left turn and brake, your right turn and brake, your ground, and your tail lights. So what this means is that it's going to send signal for turning and braking through one wire, and then you're going to have a separate one that's going to turn on your lights and obviously your ground. That is great, but if you want the trailer to kind of function like a regular truck would, obviously you got more wires than just turn and brake on one, and your tail lights. On your truck, you're gonna get tail lights, you're gonna get your right brake light, your left brake light, your turn signal, right and left. So again, you're gonna have a lot more wires coming out of this. And that's where kind of the 7-pin comes in a little bit for this. And the 7-pin, what you have is basically you have the same 4 wires that you had on the 4-pin, but on top of that you have backup lights, you have trailer brakes, and you have an aux 12 volt. So you could power with this 12 volt anything else that might be on your trailer. Again, you have the same thing, so you kind of run still into the same problem. If you wanted to use your tail light completely like a regular truck would, that's where you're gonna need an adapter. I have one here by Kurt. This is called a 2-wire to 3-wire light converter. And this is what it's gonna take, basically the signal from your truck that is being sent to the left turn and brake and convert it into 2 wires that are going out, which is then gonna allow you to attach it to your truck so you can actually have functioning turn signals that are separate from your brake lights. We haven't added them, that's why you saw a little bit of wire mess in there. So we need to add this, and I am gonna add a 4-wire still, just so I have options to run either one in case I need to let this borrow someone needs to borrow or anything like that, and they only have a 4-pin or a 4-wire, they can actually use the trailer as well. So that kind of explains the wiring a little bit. Let's move on. And one last thing I want to talk about too is going to be kind of your suspension, because we are using everything factory from the truck. Suspension is going to work just like any truck would. You can add a lowering block to it, change the shocks, or a lower release spring, or anything you wanted. If you wanted to make it lower to look kind of cool with the truck and everything. But the one downside of that is that your axle is a lot heavier than a trailer axle would be, and it's also going to hang a little lower. So keep in mind that you might scratch that. If you scratch your truck anywhere, you're going to scratch the trailer as well anywhere. So keep that in mind. I do have some teaser shots here where I put with some new wheels and everything. I think it's going to look sick once it's actually kind of nice and neat the way I want it to. So I'll roll it here, some shots and everything, so you guys can kind of get a little tease on that. But yeah, Outside of that, I mean, everything on the bed, I have a mess here, but everything on the bed hasn't been touched. Everything works great. Tailgate does need a new tailgate handle. So there you have it, guys. What do you guys think? If you are thinking about doing a trailer with maybe a parts truck or something that you have, hopefully this gives you just a little bit of better idea of what to do. Again, this is not a how-to or anything like that, so apologize. I don't do this as a living or anything, so I am definitely not an expert on trailers at all. But all things considered, I think this trailer came out pretty decent, and I think it's going to look a lot better once I actually get to work on it. So I'm going to make a little New Year's resolution on that and get myself in gear to get this done. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoy what we're doing. If you like it, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.